And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Those are some phenomenal ears. Are those Easter-colored rabbit ear or cat ears? I'm really confused.
I think they're Easter-colored
cat ears.
St. Patrick's Day cat ears.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. All right.
So for those on Clubhouse, Ray, you want to explain Clubhouse? I'm wearing kitty ears currently.
Yeah, if you're joining us live on the program through Facebook or YouTube, you could comment live and then we can display your comment, which we love to do. But there's also another way to join us that we've been using. I guess this is our third or fourth week to do this now. So we stream it live on Clubhouse, and we are a part of the Real Estate Networking group, which has been a lot of fun for us. Tons of value given in that group. There's always tons of information and knowledge that they drop in there, and we get to be part of that today. We will get into the reason why we're doing this show, but before we do, Ellis Home Inspections makes a comment. What's up, Patrick? He says, "Hey, dudes, no crawl space today."
He's there in is he in Little Rock?
Yeah, he's in the Central Arkansas area, but we cover a wide area just from here.
Yeah, so no, he's not in a crawl space today. He's a home inspector.
That's right. But thanks for joining us. If you are in Clubhouse and you want to comment on any of the articles that we cover today, just raise your hand, and Matt, the show's producer, will bring you up to the stage, and then I will come to you live and you can comment. If you comment before I come to you, we can't hear you because we have to mute the feed out of Clubhouse so we don't get a incredible echo in all of your ears. So hopefully you're thankful for that. All right, Dan,
there's a rare shot. Look, there's a daughter.
Hey, there's a daughter. How are you?
Look, you got to look at the camera, little one. Up there. Hi. Say hi.
Yes. Work from home.
I got daughters. I got dogs. I got puppy. I got the whole thing going on. So it should be interesting today.
That's part of the joy about, Melissa Mars says no cross space, no critters. That's part of the joy about Clubhouse too, is you can really hear everyone's work environment. Like some people will unmute and it's obvious, like they're at Starbucks, right? You hear the in the background, and some people you hear the dogs going crazy and the kid. Somebody went unmuted the other day and was talking, and we could hear her tea kettle going off. And I guess she just thought she was far enough away from the tea kettle. We were like, "Hey, your tea's done." She was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, when you're not using a directional mic like we are, we can hear everything.
You can hear literally everything. And Clubhouse is optimized for the phone. So even if you try to use a microphone or something different, it really picks up best if you just use the phone and you're on speakerphone. Like just like the people like you see walking around Walmart and they're talking on speakerphone. That's essentially what everyone on Clubhouse is like if you want to optimize your audio. Let's see. Oh yeah. Matt with a great reminder says, please mute if you're on the toilet. So no joke, I joined a really big room one time. I mean, there was a lot of people on stage, a lot of speakers, and within 5 minutes of being in the room, I heard a toilet flush and somebody hawk a loogie. And it was different people.
Two different people doing that.
Two different people, yeah.
And, all right. And by the way, I would like to point out how groundbreaking this is and how difficult it was for Ray and Matt to figure out. Because our first trials before we went live were kind of rough and kind of not that easy. And then the first time we went live, Ray needed about 8 arms.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I was doing the screen switching plus the dual mute switching that you have to do to get the Clubhouse feed into the podcast.
Right. And then, so all of that. And then obviously Matt has jumped in and helped and has been a huge help. But this is people listening to our podcast live. I don't think I don't know if you can do this. I mean, podcasts are always recorded and then presented. So I think this is extremely groundbreaking and keeps us number 16 in Taiwan.
We are number 16 news show in Taiwan, just so everyone knows. This is legit. Like, this is not, we're not making that up.
No, not joking.
I got an email that said that. We
also got another very interesting email, by the way.
We did. Oh, yes, we did. So you know how we talk about companies on the show? They're watching us. This is not the first time we've had a company reach out. No, they were. Hopefully they'll come on the show because I think it would be great to have their perspective of what's going on in the real estate tech space anyway. So we'll just leave that there. All right.
It's a teaser.
So on today's show, here's the stuff we're going to cover. And if you're like, oh my gosh, when will these guys shut up? Don't worry about it. If you're watching this on the replay on YouTube, you can go down to the comments or the description of the show, and you'll see timestamps to where you can just jump to one of these articles that we're going to talk about. So you could totally bypass our healthy banter that we have threatened to do without, but then we had some pullback. People didn't like it. So
yeah, we were like, let's shorten it up. And people were like, dude, why are you shortening it up?
Why are you shortening it up? All right. So we're going to talk about weekly mortgage application volume as normal. We're going to talk about the December home prices and what's going on there. We're also going to talk about the existing home sales. So we'll give you those economic updates, but we have two stories that I think are a little weird. One is that the president of Keller Williams is out. Josh Team left. We're going to talk about the details. He was only there since January. Like I remember covering the story last year about Gary Keller stepping down
because he'd come back,
stepping up.
He stepped up, then he stepped back
to now like the head of everything, because they have this KW holding company now in which they have a CEO there. There is no official CEO of Keller Williams, but there was this president, Josh Team. We're going to talk about what his role was, and then now he's out. So who's going to take his place? What's it mean? The other story that I think is interesting that I'd love to have some feedback and opinions from those that are listening on Clubhouse and those that are joining the show live to comment. More Americans are looking to remote work. More Americans are looking to move as remote work gains acceptance during a pandemic. So why? Where are they moving to? And what's been the change in the trend? Because I think it is going to be in line with the prediction show that we did at the end of last year. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. But Dan, before we get into all these stories, would you tell people what BMORE is actually all about?
You know, I would love to. Now, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs, about it's been 4 years, but I'm rounding up. We've known each other for 10 years, and we've met in real life twice. But when Ray and I met, I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
Really? What was that?
He hates tomatoes.
I actually love tomatoes.
There's a tomato on your fork, buddy.
I actually love. So not only do I love tomatoes, but I used to raise my own tomatoes in my backyard with my grandfather's plants. He'd give me little tomato starter plants. I would put them in the backyard, and so I also planted mint, and it like took over. It was like evasive mint. It like took over everything. So yes, I actually love
every week I make up something about Ray, and he's got some story behind it. Actually
somewhat relative.
But he had a layout for a show, and it's the same layout we use today. But what I also noticed is he's, obviously he's beautifully bearded, but he also loves giving value up front as an agent, but also as a human. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
Yeah, and one of the things we think we can be better at is knowing exactly what's going on so that we can better consult with our clients and tell them how to make moves that would impact them in the real estate space. Because it's not just owning, and it's not just an investment as a house. It's a place where people live. And someone literally comes to us and they make a determination based on what we show them and the information we give them about where they should spend their life. So there should be a little bit of pressure on us to know what the heck is going on.
And unless you're dealing with an investor, Ray, how many times do you get just your average buyer going, I don't really care about area. I'm going to live in this thing for a couple of years and I'm selling it and I'm going to buy another one. It's kind of rare in my space anyway, where not the website, in my area, in my world.
In my space. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I got to say, I miss Tom. Can
Tom, your friend.
Tom was always your first friend. He never banned anyone. He never said anything. He never had to go before Congress.
He never had to go before Congress.
We miss Tom. Can we all just say how much we miss Tom?
Bring back Tom, and bring back when people used to go to your profile and it would play your selected playlist. That was always
it would play your selected playlist, and it didn't matter when you were
HTML. You could use HTML to edit exactly what your space looked. It was truly your space,
Yeah, you could make it your own, and it was truly unique. You could even have it on your own little headline or what I'm currently feeling, but. When you were brand new and you didn't really know what this whole connect through the internet thing was, there was Tom just with that profile picture saying hi.
Yep.
And we don't know where Tom lives. We don't know anything about Tom or how much he's worth.
We'll have to reach out.
I know, but think about the differences between what we know about Tom and what we know about all these other CEOs. So anyway, I miss Tom, but it's not often in my world that every time it's a big deal. Either we're selling and we're buying our dream home because we bought the first house, we built some equity, and now we want to do it. Or hey, we've been renters for 12 years and we want to get our foothold in the real estate market. It's a big deal. So what Ray is saying is that there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of energy we have to put into that. And knowing these headlines and these stats every week really help us get there. And it hopefully helps you guys too.
Yeah, and we'd love it if you'd share the show. We're about to get into these headlines. Before we do, Dusty Martin says, OMG, my mom planted mint and it took over the entire yard. I have PTSD. You couldn't walk on it without. Oh, that's nice, though. She said you couldn't walk without that stuff getting crushed and having it on your clothes and feet. It would smell so good. But she says to this day, I can't stand the smell of mint.
Well, it takes over. Mint is very, very invasive. It takes over.
Omar Gonzalez is checking in from YouTube. He said, listening from Auburndale, Florida.
Auburndale, Florida.
Awesome. Do you have a social media platform? We're kind of on all the platforms. I mean, you can find us on Instagram. That's where we spend most of our time, I think, tooling around. But we use YouTube, we use Facebook, we use tons.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. D Ludwig rocks. That's how you find him. I'm Ray Zorback. All right, Dan, you ready to get into these headlines?
100%.
All right. Just like that.
We've really made it our own. It's different now. It's totally different. That's our own thing now. It's
no blew it up when Wayne's World does it.
When someone else does it. And by the way, guys, I do have to apologize. If I have to answer any homework related questions, I will mute my mic, but excuse me if
we have people in Clubhouse, so maybe they can help if you have like a math problem. We can bring up somebody that's really good.
We'll phone a friend through Clubhouse.
All right, so let's get into this first story. The president of Keller Williams is out. The newly named, I say newly because he's only been there a year, the newly named president of KW is already out after just a year. Remember, Gary Keller stepped down from CEO several months ago, and Josh Team took the reins. But he never really changed the roles, but he was the president of KW. So to the excitement of many within the company who said he was the right tech-forward, focused, and innovative individual to bring KW into the new era, but now we hear rumbles of promises that he made 6 years ago that were never kept. We hear rumbles deep from within KW who say he should have been fired because he never delivered. We also hear agents upset that Josh Team got his announcement out to the world first before Gary Keller got it to their agents, which is funny when you think about it, because you have the tech guy that was first to make the announcement on the tech and social platform,
right?
The big company that was slow to release the information, right? So that's kind of ironic. All right, so here's the statement from Josh. After weeks of thoughtful reflection, several conversations, and looking into the future, I've decided to move to the next opportunity from Keller Williams. In conversations with Gary, Carl, and Carl is the CEO of KW Holdings that owns everything that KW has going on. So in conversations with Gary, Carl, and the team, we all mutually agreed to plan where I'll be helping in the transition over the next couple of weeks. I'm grateful for everything that Keller Williams has given me and my family and all the relationships I've fostered. I can't wait to cheer for the red and white as a fan. So many at Keller Williams also complained that Team had just represented KW at the KW family reunion, and now a week later is out. Right. So many are asking, why is that the timing? Because he says his release was weeks of discussion, and then, well, if you knew this, someone that was upset about it wasn't with Keller Williams. I'm like, well, what's the matter to you? Like, you're not even with that company, right? So I have very little to say about it. I'm not with the company. It's just interesting as an industry. However, generally, if you're about to out someone as president, they probably wouldn't have such an active role at the conference, right? I mean, wouldn't you want to settle that beforehand and then at the conference announce the new direction and get going on the right foot? Or maybe they needed to have
both, have the
this is the transition. Here's the
have the lame duck there and saying, hey, here's literally handing the torch over to the new one. Like, do a whole big thing, right?
Like a big celebration of we're taking the next step.
Yeah.
But I don't, maybe they didn't see it coming. Which is interesting.
Well, his statement is a little ambiguous. Because he's saying, like, I've decided to move on to the next thing, but I've also agreed to help in the transition. So was he pushed out because he didn't do what he said, which I think you're going to get to?
Yeah. So let's see. Many are asking why the timing is so off. All right. So what did Team do? Under Team, Keller Williams has rolled out a completely revamped consumer-facing experience, including a new website and an app, and build a technology platform anchored by its artificial intelligence power consumer relationship management tool, Command, and Keller Cloud. And I wonder if he had part of Kelly. It's Kelly.
Oh, I
but it's
remember
Keller.
Keller Cloud. That was their kind of answer
Keller
to
Cloud.
EXP.
Yeah, but there's also Kella, right? The Siri like thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So big question. Well, one of the people interviewed, and this most of this text comes from a couple of different Inman articles that I've kind of merged into one amorphous thing here. But one of the things they talked about was the Inman news reporter texted a team lead and said, "Hey, any comments on Josh Team leaving?" And the team leader responded with a laughing emoji and said, "What? Like he never?" I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like he never got the tech out that he promised 6 years ago. And so there's a bit of animosity towards him currently, which is interesting too. All right, so who's next? The next guy is Mark King. He was named the new president of Keller Williams. King has been with Keller Williams for more than 20 years, serving as a divisional leader with the franchisor, as well as operating principal of multiple Keller Williams market centers and an instruction with the company's coaching and training programs. So definitely a guy that's been there for the long haul. But if any of you are with Keller Williams listening, I'd love to hear what you think about the transition, how it happened, and if you have any thoughts on that. I know we have a couple of comments on Facebook and YouTube.
Well, and he did all those things that you just mentioned, but he was also tech facing. So is this dude that's been with the company for more than 20 years? He knows coaching, he knows the systems, he knows the process behind, he knows the tradition behind Keller Williams. Yeah. But is he? I mean, I don't want to discourage or disparage the guy, but is he forward thinking like a tech guy would think? Which is we're in an ever evolving tech world right now.
Does he need to be? Because there's a lot of going back to the foundation. So Monica Laws, I missed the news. Gary Keller stepped down. He stepped up, actually. So they created KW Holding Company that now owns Keller Williams.
Yeah, he went to that.
KWX or KWI? I think it's KWX.
He went down and then back up, and now he's here.
Yeah. So he's kind of now leading it all more on the board than a direct CEO of just Keller Williams itself.
Yeah, right, and you call it's KWX, right?
KWX. I think that was the holding company name. Which sounds like maybe they're going to go public, but we'll see. All right, I do want to go back to Nico, who helped us test the audio for the Clubhouse integration. So I'll bring up Clubhouse. Nico, what do you think of this change up at Keller Williams, and where are you? Where do you work as a brokerage? Because that's apropos to this discussion in particular. But also, have you ever worked at KW? You got any experience with them? And tell me your thoughts.
Hey, buddy, how's it going? Can you give me, like, I know it's probably bad time. Give me 2 more minutes. I'm just loading groceries into the truck. So give me 2 minutes and I'll jump right back on.
Nico's getting groceries, so we'll wait. I love that.
This is the work from home environment we live in.
Monica Laws said, thanks, guys. Yeah, you're welcome. You should check out the show more often, Monica. You'd hear the news like that. All right, so if anybody's got any opinions on that, we'd love to hear it. We've both been agents at Keller Williams in the past. Dan, what do you think about this move? What do you think it means?
I mean, it's been forever. It's been 8 years since I was with Keller Williams. I was there until 2000, I guess till 2014 or 15. So maybe it was a little longer than that. So it's been about 6 years, but I didn't really ever feel the effects from having a CEO or not having a CEO or have someone be the head of KWX or KW International. Like, for me, it was always just, how did they help me produce as an agent? How did they help me get better as an agent? Which I always liked. There was good relationships and good vibes in those office spaces. And there's always something to learn, always some sort of coaching or something going on. But having not been with them forever, I do not have the finger on the KW pulse, as it were. But what I would imagine, and it kind of goes along with my question earlier, is I feel like we live in a world where, as a real estate agent and company and brokerage, you have to be tech savvy. So where are they headed if this new guy isn't super tech savvy? Do they have a division that will help them stay at the cutting edge of technology? Because Gary always kind of says like, no, we're doing a thing that's going to counteract this other company that's doing a thing. No, we have a thing. There's always that. So is this guy going to be able to handle that? And then also, kind of going back to what Teray said, why didn't they do the switch at Family Reunion, which is their big annual conference, and then why just after? And does it have anything to do with all the Zillow shakeup and what CoStar is doing? And by the way, there's an article. Redfin bought a rental, an online rental portal. So is it any of that? Were they missing out on that? Like, what really is going on here? That'd be my main concern. But as a CEO, like, as long as your company is still helping you produce as an agent, I don't know why you would care, really. I don't know.
Yeah. Why would you care who's at the top if they are helping you 100% of the time? And I think that, when I was there, I didn't really know if someone was CEO or if someone was president, or nothing really mattered like that to me. I mean, I was looking at the training materials and what I could learn. And oh, this is interesting. So David Fresco says they did the same thing to Chris Heller. So that's interesting. I do know that they didn't quite make their tech target. They were hoping to have a tech thing that would just kind of take over the industry, and they didn't really do that. They seemed a little bit reactionary in some of their steps. And if they're trying to be forward thinking and they want to put people in the right position to be first movers into things like that, they were not. And
but if you have a was someone else trying to, I don't know if Clubhouse is up or not.
Yeah, I think we have Clubhouse up. Let me get to Nico. I think he's probably ready. Surely it doesn't take him that long. I don't know how many groceries he had there. Hey, Nico, what's going on, man?
Guys, gentlemen, I am sorry about that, but I had an improv, grocery run on the way to an appointment. So thank you for the embarrassment moment. But I've been with Keller Williams for about 3 years. I'm in the City Views Market Center, which is located right outside the George Washington Bridge in Fort Lee, New Jersey. And I'll tell you this: when Gary Keller was going through his visit speech, and he was there for about 2 hours. Or about an hour and a half. They're going with the vision. He brought up Zillow and all that stuff, which he kept a pretty good open mind of the conversation he had with Zillow, and the transparency. But when the announcement came up right after Family Reunion finished, my first immediate thought was this was because of Family Reunion. Something happened, and that's why Josh left. But then I read Josh's announcement before Gary's, which was it was, just one of those things. And I'm like, wait, you've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. Isn't it the perfect opportunity during the vision speech of the company at the Family Reunion, the best time to say, hey, listen, Josh is going to be here during the transition, and then we're going to move on to the next guy. That is where I was upset as far as an operational piece. But, at the same time, on the inner thoughts of Keller Williams, is that things he said that he was going to do never happened. So, in my opinion, sorry about that. I was getting a phone call, but things that was kind of overdue in my eyes. So I'm still kind of processing and thinking of what's going on. But my main impact is why wasn't it announced during Family Reunion, and that's why I'm kind of upset about.
Yeah, I think you echo a lot of the concerns that were covered in the article. I mean, almost verbatim with what they said in the article. Number one, why did Josh Team release his announcement first before KW could send a message to the agents? And number two, why did he even play a role at the Family Reunion if they had been in discussions with this a week? And why wasn't it announced during something like the vision where you're talking about where you're going? And I'm wondering, the vision is usually uploaded somewhere later online. And I've checked that out a couple of times. I know the slides at least are. And I'm wondering if you can go back now and listen to the vision speech and pick up any hints that were dropped during that may. So I'd be curious to know, Nico, I know y'all have that on the back end where you can rewatch that. But I would be curious to know if you could go back and watch that and see if you can go, oh,
there's some really bad overdubs.
So
Josh Team
during the vision speech, I felt some of that in the conversations that they were going back and forth. Where they were kind of like stepping on each other when they were talking. So I actually felt that while they were talking, but I just thought it was, all right, maybe they got into kind of a disagreement, or the whole thing with all this is going on during that bad ice storm down in and Texas. So I thought it was just kind of that played a part. And you can actually listen to the recording. So anyone who signed up for Family Reunion, those recordings are staying on the platform until April. So you can actually go back and listen to every ounce of information that Family Reunion had.
There you go. That's cool, man. Thanks for joining the show and giving us that insight from a Keller Williams agent. That's one of the reasons why I like Clubhouse. I've been in multiple rooms where someone's like, I really have a question about this program, like Sisu or something like that. Like I've been looking at it and I'm kind of wondering about it. And then a guy jumps on stage and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm the COO of Sisu. Just thought I'd pop in and let you know a little bit about what we're doing." It's like the connections are incredible. So saying, "Hey guys, if you're at Keller Williams, let us know." And then Nico steps up. So I appreciate the additional information from the inside. And I think you are echoing what other agents in the company feel. Now, Keller Williams did announce that they took over about 10% of the market, which that's a pretty incredible number. And that's
the thing, though. Like if Team was the head of the company doing that and all these forward moves in tech and Keller and all this stuff, right? Like, why would he be out? Like, what's really going on, Gary?
Well, from a couple of friends of mine who are Keller Williams agents, they are less impressed with the software created by them. So
I know, but really think about that, though.
That's been a hot topic discussion in the Clubhouse rooms too. Should a brokerage act like a tech company and try to develop their own platforms, or should they be experts at implementing third-party expert software? And that's kind of an ongoing debate, because you have a lot of these boutique firms that are like turning on a dime. Like, we're small. I don't develop my own software. I use what's already out there, but we use it incredibly well.
Right.
And those programs and software is better than anything I could develop, or better than another real estate company, in my opinion, could develop. So, but that's been a ongoing debate among that. So we'll leave that for another day. Dan, do you want to get into the next story?
No.
Let me go to Dusty then, who has a comment. She says, I think who is at the top only has an effect on culture and effectiveness.
Yeah.
If the guy at the top is a jerk, don't expect to enjoy where you are, and vice versa. I think it has less to do if he can think like a tech guy, and more about if he hires the right tech guys to help guide his decisions. Yeah.
And maybe that's it. Maybe Josh Chima is a giant jerk. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know. Well, he's only there for a year as the president, so something happened.
Well, and KW is big on culture.
Let me plant something seedy though, just for the fun of it, right?
Yes.
So you have this guy that's CEO and owner of the company, and he feels like it's a little bit struggling and they're missing some marks. So what does he do? He removes himself, puts someone else there, and then fires him as if it was that guy's fault. That's funny. That's just a funny like tinfoil hat scenario for me. I don't.
Maybe it's tinfoil kitty ears. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's get into the next article.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Now I'm serious about the next article. All right. I know I have kitty ears on, but I'm very serious about my job.
Yeah, very.
So weekly mortgage applications volume drops 11% as rates spike and Texas power outages hurt demand. So higher mortgage interest rates and a winter weather disaster combined to weaken mortgage demand last week. Total mortgage application volume fell 11.4% compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. The average contract interest rate for a 30-year fixed rate mortgages increased to 3.08 from 2.98. So they're now above 3, which we've been talking about this we've been expecting it for months. They got to go back above 3. Now they're above 3. Okay. So if you're having that conversation with your clients, and they're kind of wait, I missed out when they were 2.25 and 2.5 and 2.75. Go historically and just tell them like 3% is still really, really awesome. And for refis, they'll be a little bit lower. And for A paper, which all the credit and the income and the down payments, they could still be a little bit lower. So it's still a really big positive. If you go back to 20, 30 years ago, they were at 11 or 12%. And 1 year ago, that rate was 65 basis points higher. So they were in the high 3s last year. And then, so this is a quote from, that's my puppy. If you guys hear scratching in the background, that's my puppy.
Here's a quote from my puppy.
Here's a quote from my puppy.
Wait,
yeah, and he wants to come inside. Eventually, my daughters are going to get up and let him back in. There he goes. There we go. All right.
There we go.
And if you see a giant Doberman walk by, yeah, he's 8 months old.
Wow, seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
He's giant. Oh, hey, daughters, can you get him water, please? Sorry. All right. I apologize. Work from home. This is a quote from Joel Kahn. He's an MBA economist. Mortgage rates have increased in 6 of the last 8 weeks, with the benchmark 30-year fixed rate last week climbing above 3% to its highest level since September 2020. He goes on to say, as a result of these higher rates, overall refinance activity fell to its lowest level since December, so only a couple months ago. Applications to refinance a home loan fell 11% for the week, but were still 50% higher year over year. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, really good.
And then you know how they always say, like, the first part of the story usually says the mortgage application volume fell 11.4%, and then they immediately give a year ago. This article didn't this time from CNBC. It didn't, but they do mention it a little bit later. So it says it right here. The annual comparison has been shrinking as rates rise, and that's in regards to refis. Mortgage applications to purchase home fell about 12% for the week, but here it is. We're 7% higher than a year ago. They buried this way, like 8 paragraphs down. I had to go find it.
That's so weird. So for those of you who are just joining our show or have never watched our show, we don't get into politics very often, but one of the things we do watch are the headlines and the changing headlines. And it has been obvious that there has been a changing of the guard, because previous to this, we would say that, mortgage applications decrease 6%. Is this the end or whatever? And then we get into the article and it's like 70% over last year. It's like, come on.
Well, and by the
way, you're saying it decreased 6% from the week before, but it's also Christmas.
Right.
So we have seen a bit of a political slant, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, or love Biden or hate Biden. It doesn't really matter to us. It's just important that you're aware of how these articles are written so that you can share with your clients what's really going on. I was at the gym the other day and someone said, hey, I was watching the news and they were talking about the market and how it's crazy good and all this stuff. I'm like, well, what did you watch? And the stuff she was sharing with me was all these top line headlines that we cover, and then having to get into some details about which she's not going to read the details. They're just going to kind of go through the headlines and think they know it. And that's why we have the show.
That's why we get past the headlines.
Get past the headlines so that you know exactly what's happening. But yeah, 50% is a good number. I remember when they were saying that it was just barely good at 70%, but now, 50% is great. They said it was terrible when it's just 20% over last year. But
and applications to purchase are 7% higher than a year ago, with no inventory and with rates rising and with the disaster that just happened.
Right.
So, and by the way, Ray, totally side, but when is the last time we had a story that said home price gains decrease? When is the last time we heard that?
Oh, that has been a long time.
Right? We haven't seen one of those stories in
probably a year.
No. Roughly 3 months.
You think? Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Because it was the week over week versus
every week seemed like there was home price gains slow or decrease.
But home prices were still gaining.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now they're just gaining. They're not decreasing. They're just gaining. It's just interesting. Anyway, sorry guys.
Okay, so let's get into the next article and then we could take some Clubhouse. Did you have something else on that?
No, the final thing is that Joe Kahn said that the higher mortgage rates are definitely a factor, but the severe winter weather across the South last week, and especially the power outage across Texas, played a role. That state specifically saw more than a 40% drop in purchase and refinance applications last week. So we hope everyone there, not just realtors, but we hope everyone there is safe and doing okay.
Well, we couldn't go anywhere last week. It got to 0 degrees. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me sledding around our neighborhood. Which was awesome. It was such a blast. I was testing all kinds of camera gear. I had so much fun. We even had an adult night where we put the kids to bed, and then our entire street went out into the street and we sled at night. It was so much fun.
When's the last time you had snow like that?
It was 20, 30 years ago.
That's awesome.
It's almost like there's 20 or 30 year cycles. But no, the last time we got that much snow specifically, I was 5 or 6 years old. So it was literally 30 something years ago.
And you were acting like a 5 or 6 year old. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So we didn't show any homes last week, and I don't think anything sold last week. So it was a very different environment for us too. And we didn't have all the power outages and stuff that Texas had. We just couldn't go anywhere. So I think there was probably an impact from states that were like that too. All right, so let's see. Adam Johnson said he purchased in 2008, and his APR was 8.5%, which is about the historic average.
Yeah, 7.5% is historic, right?
Yeah. Kathy Gunderman, she said it was 8 degrees at my house last week with snow, then 80 degrees yesterday. And she said my yard is dead.
My yard is dead.
So it was 0 degrees in Arkansas last week, and yesterday 73.
Okay.
So that is wild. Okay. So let's get into the next article, and then we'll go to Clubhouse for some comments too. So if you have some, be sure to raise your hand. Matt will pull you up. We can't really hear you until I go to you live, but Matt can tell you more about that in Clubhouse. He'll just be talking over me. No.
Okay, and I'm going to be off camera for just a minute.
No worries. He's going to help with homework. Okay, so more Americans are planning to move this year due to a flexible work from home lifestyle that COVID-19 pandemic has ushered in. And so we talked about this for, I think we've been talking about this since June, about how maybe this would make people move out of the suburb or out of the more densely populated areas and into the suburbs. We covered an article in November or December where they had done research, and they found that the move was not so drastic, that people did not want to live in the city, but they were actually staying in the same zip codes. They were just kind of moving into another part of the city that was less densely populated. So if you're in Clubhouse or if you're watching the show on YouTube or Facebook and you're a real estate agent, we'd love to hear your opinions on that, if that's actually happening in your area now, if you're seeing more closings in those areas or not. Zillow released a report that said, based on the search activity, they weren't finding any difference. So my thoughts were, well, let's see who's right. Is it going to be different or is it not when these properties start closing? So nearly 20%, this back to the article, and this article comes to us from CNBC, by the way, nearly 20% of people across the country are working from home full time as of December. 28% of Americans have considered relocating. And in addition, 20% more consumers are preparing to move this year compared to the prior year. So real estate agents, there are 20% of the people in your area that are planning to move this year compared to last year. So you know how much we sold last. It was crazy. Like we were selling stuff all the time, and we had all these businesses that were struggling and suffering, and then we had agents that were in poor taste talking about how great the market was. Like, chill out, bro. Like your neighbor doesn't have a job. So, but as good as that year was for real estate, because our company grew by I think 38% or something like that. We had 38% more sales than we did in 2019. So there are 20% more consumers this year who are planning to move compared to last year. So as they move, we should see a lot of this inventory start to free up.
We're 3.9 homes
million
short.
Yeah, I think last count, it was like 3.9 million homes short.
Right.
Now, housing starts have been up, which we reported last week. Despite the high build prices, more builders are optimistic and they are building more homes. All right, so LinkedIn analyzed the major cities that American workers are relocating to from April.
LinkedIn is relevant for once. Wow.
I'm telling you, if you're on Clubhouse, you need to follow Judy Fox. If you're not, you need to go find her. She's teaching me a little bit about how to use LinkedIn, and it's the platform is a changing. So I think it's also getting a lot better. But anyway, they analyzed
after only 16 years in the game.
Right. Austin, Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona are at the top, largely due to more inexpensive cost of living. And we have a couple of people from those areas, Austin and Phoenix, who normally watch the show. So, Dan, what are you seeing? I know we've reported in the past about the mass exodus from, your dog's going off. We've reported in the past about the mass exodus from
California, right?
Yeah. Are you still seeing that? Or what's the story?
Well, I mean, currently I have more people moving into California. There's my dog, by the way.
You have more people moving into California? Well, that goes contrary to the report we're seeing, Dan.
It is. Copper, dude, you got to chill. Hey, come here.
What's your dog's name?
Copper. Here.
Oh, that's cute.
Come here, buddy. There. You guys can get a glimpse of the puppy. Come here, baby.
That is no longer a puppy.
No, he's not a puppy anymore. There you go. This is a giant puppy.
That's huge.
He's 7
It's hard to believe that something so big made such a high-pitched squeak.
Well, because he wants something.
Oh, okay.
That's his I'm going to annoy you until I get something bark. But his big bark is really big. But yeah, he's 7 months old.
All right, so anyway, who are you working with? They are coming to you, right?
Yeah, and so they're coming in. I have 3 moving in right now, but I have one, family that it was the whole family. Like, son got a job in They went to Idaho, got a job in Idaho, and they all left. Mom sold, son sold, everyone sold and went to Idaho. So I can't say, just because I love my state and this is where I'm from, I can't just say, no, it's not true. So I get it. I understand it. Cost of living higher and taxes is higher and all that stuff. We have a crazy person running the state anyway, but
yeah, that's been interesting to watch. I think he was actually the Texas Realtor of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, Governor Newsom.
Yeah, that's a fun meme to see. But they ignore all the awesome stuff that he has done, because there are some good things he's done. Yeah. But it's like any politician, we only judge them for the good or bad that they do. But anyway, so I don't know. And then as far as the stat that people are working home, most of my clients work remotely right now. Either have already done that or are my clients that are moving from Arizona. Mass exodus from Arizona. He's had his Copper.
Dude, he's got to take issue with that.
Copper. They have been working remotely for 3 months while we look for a home. So very interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Well, do you want me to go to the next one while you give your dog whatever he needs? Or
I got to give him something. I'm going to just go find him like a rabbit or something.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter always works.
Yeah.
I love peanut butter. All right. So I will go ahead and cover, let's see, the existing home sales. I'm throwing you for a ringer, Matt, who's our show's producer, probably had the article pulled up here. So let's talk about existing home sales. They rose in January. So these are actual sales. These are not just the applications to purchase. So existing home sales rose slightly in January, but still is a record low supply that weighs on the market. So I'll just give you the bullet points of this. Well, we can go into a little bit of depth here. After a brief pullback in December, home buyers returned to the market. Closed sales of existing homes in January increased by 0.6% compared to December. So month-to-month comparison, it was only up less than 1%. So let me find sales ended the month seasonally adjusted annualized rate 6.69 million units, which was 23% higher, 23.7% higher compared with January 2020. That's the second highest sales pace since April of 2006. So home sales continued. This is a quote from Lawrence Yoon, who's a chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He said, home sales are continuing to play a part in propping up the economy. With additional stimulus likely to pass and several vaccines now available, the housing outlook looks solid for us this year. There are 1.04 million homes for sale at the end of January, which is a 26% drop, which... Let's see. This is an interesting quote. Let me find it. Okay. At the current sales pace, there is now a 1.9 month supply over the nation. This is the number to share with your clients, everyone.
Nationally?
There's a 1.9 month supply nationally. That is the lowest since realtors began tracking the metric in 1982, the year of your good bearded's birth. 1 year ago,
wow,
there was more than a 3 month supply.
Dude, I just looked again. Yeah, I check usually every few days because it's not much is going to change in my city and then the surrounding areas. We're at a 20-day supply, 28-day supply. Like we're in days supply now. It's not so to have an average, but dude, nationally under 2 months supply.
Yeah,
that's
so it is. Obviously, it's going to have an impact on home prices. As a matter of fact, let me go to the comments. Dusty Martin, she says, get this. Local agent forum in AZ just had a buyer lose a contract bidding war. The home listed in the mid 300s. They offered $37,000 over and waived appraisal.
Okay.
California buyer came in at $470,000 cash, no inspection. And it's even crazier in our smaller remote towns with normal price points under 300K. But she says that she goes on to say, but it's not really just CA buyers, California buyers. They're coming from everywhere. Locals can't compete. My current buyer made 13 offers before finally winning one that wasn't even on the market yet. Yeah. And her county has a 2-week supply. Adam Johnson said 1982 was a great year. September 29th was an awesome day. We have 2 weeks of supply. Let's do. April 28th was a phenomenal day that year.
Dude, that's insane. I mean,
so yeah, supply is at an all-time low. Here it's super low as well. But at the same time, I posted something on my Instagram yesterday. I keep hearing the market complain about low inventory. And yes, there's low inventory, but that's where your value is as a real estate agent.
Right.
There's super low inventory, but I was able to show my client 10 homes. We offered on 3 and they got the third.
Yeah.
Now, was my client upset that they offered on 3? No, I set the expectations. I said, hey man, we're going to pick 3 or 4 homes for you to choose from today. And once we get at least 2, we'll make one offer and we'll have another one written and waiting. Then if we miss out on both of those, the next day we can go see another slate. And some of these had literally, the home they bought, it came on the market at 1 o'clock. We offered at 4 o'clock. So we went and saw, and it was an hour drive for me because traffic that day. But
yeah,
which that's a lot of traffic in
Arkansas. That's a lot for Arkansas.
It was still 30 minutes away, but yeah. So they were able to get it. We went a little bit over list, and then we just held our ground. And they called us and said, hey, it looks like we have another offer. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I guess we'll find something else. And she was like, well, wait, you don't want to do highest and best? I was like, well, we gave you a great offer, so we'll just go find something. They were like, okay, we'll take your offer.
Yeah.
So you have to look for some unique ways to negotiate. I didn't have to do a buyer letter. If all of you are doing buyer letters, you need to check out NAR's statement on that. Don't do buyer letters. You could be setting yourself up for some.
And by the way, if you're a seller reading those buyer letters, it could be really bad.
Well, I think the sellers are sheltered from it. I think it's the real estate agent representing the sellers that have to sign the ethics, right?
Well, exactly. But we use a system where the offers are presented when you hit submit through our system, it goes right to the seller and to us. So it's fully transparent that way, but everything, any uploads, anything attachments. So I'm just saying, if you use the same system we do, which I don't know if I should mention them or not, but because I honestly don't want anyone else using it because it's amazing, but it's really cool. It's really transparent, but everything goes, the seller sees everything,
Yeah. Well, I mean, so let me get back to the article. I'll hit 2 more things and we can move on. They said, looking ahead, we expect demand to remain strong thanks to a large and still growing cohort of buyers reaching prime buying age. Now, remember, we've talked about millennials delaying their purchasing, and now we have millennials and then the Matt. What are you? Are you Xennial? What is it? What are you, Matt?
I think I'm technically a Gen Z.
Gen Z? I thought
1998. I think it's millennial and then Gen Z after.
Okay. All right, we have millennials and Gen Zers like Matt that are reaching Matt's at what was the old age for buying a house that was pretty common. And Matt, guess what Matt did? Matt bought a house. Right. So millennials they all delayed their home purchases for the most part, statistically speaking. So now they are making home purchases. So now you have 2 generations making home purchases, all-time historic low rates, and inventory has been squashed for multiple reasons.
Well, guess what? Those baby boomers are still holding on to their equity.
That's right. So this is Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com. She was the one that said they expect demand to remain strong because the buyers that are reaching the prime buying age, but rising prices and mortgage rates could dampen their enthusiasm as monthly costs go up. I think mortgage rates would still have quite a ways to go up before it dampens the enthusiasm if they're taking a look at the historic rates, which average around 8.5%, 9%, which we as realtors should be educating people on.
I would say it would have to be, because when I was first in the business, they were 5-6%, but they were slowly going down. So I would say for it to really have a huge effect, they'd have to get up over like 4.5, right? Like,
yeah, I think so too.
Because if 3% was unheard of, because you got to remember all the other people that usually make money weren't making as much, so they're inevitably going to go up, but it's going to be a little while before they really make a huge impact on it, especially if we see more inventory loosen up.
Yeah, and if you're in Clubhouse, feel free to raise your hand. We can put you on stage and get some comments on that. And while we are doing that, let's see. Oh, this is another comment from Matthew. Our producer's in the comments. He said, side note, I could probably count on one hand how many fellow Gen Zs that own a home and aren't living with their parents. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm getting a call from Texas right now. Might be a buyer.
There you go. Well, Curtis Lee, who looks like Gary Keller, which we covered last week on the show.
Sorry, buddy.
I wish it only took 3 offers to get a home. Come to Arkansas, bro. Let's go. All right. So
yeah, I think I'm averaging about 6-7 offers right now. I'm on for my sellers that are also buying, that took them their 4th offer got accepted. The buyers that were VA, that took a little longer. They were, geez, that might have been our 8th, 9th offer. And then, but we got that accepted. And here's the craziest one is that I have clients that are up, they go up over 1.2 million. They're losing out to all cash almost every time.
Wow.
And people are going well above appraisal. They're not, I mean, if the max appraisal is 1.25, people are going to 1.35 and like cash. So that's, we've always kind of talked about that luxury is a different market. It's struggling, but it's right now the most competitive market. And I'm guessing because there is some more money out there, but also these homes are absolutely dream homes. They are perfect. Everything about them is dialed and well thought out. You don't have to do a thing to them, so you kind of get what you pay for, obviously. But it's very interesting competing with these other offers up there.
Dusty Martin, she says my buyers that are hurting most are VA FHA buyers that don't have a bunch of cash.
Yeah, same. But I was lucky to get one, and I used some tactics to get it accepted. You have to be very savvy.
Yeah, and they can't say let's go over too much because they can't bring the extra cash and waive the appraisal and all that stuff. So homes have to appraise, and that's been a sticking point for a lot.
And they have to get termite clearance. I don't know if that's nationwide, but we have to get a full termite clearance, not a termite report, termite clearance.
We have to do that too. We have to do that on all of ours. That's what we request. But in Arkansas, we got bad termites. Okay. Yeah. So we have some real heavy hitters in this room here that I'm watching in Clubhouse. So I just want to thank you guys for joining the show on Clubhouse and live. If you're commenting on YouTube or Facebook, we really appreciate that. We'd love it if you'd share the show. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell, follow. Also, you can use the little plus button and then to add people in Clubhouse if you want to ping people because you think they could use this information. And then Adam Johnson has a great transition to our next story. He says nationwide home median income versus home price. There's a 2% increase in rates could severely limit the ability for the average person to buy the average home. So if rates do go up 2%, he's saying that's going to limit the affordability even further because what else are we seeing, Dan, when it comes to home prices?
Let's see what I have to read here. Existing home sales rise slightly in January, but record low supplies weighs on market.
There you go. We've been talking about it for like how long? But give us the exact numbers. This is from Chase Schiller, right? Or Case Schiller?
Well, the actual article is from CNBC. After a brief pullback in December, home buyers returned to the market, although they are still being hampered by record low supply. Let's see. This is according to National Association of Realtors. Are we on the right article? Am I on the same one? Yep, that one.
Wait, are we showing the right one?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's the right one. Okay, cool.
I think we're showing the wrong one. We're showing the wrong one on the show, but you were on the right one.
I'm on the right one, and I think I'm reading the same one you're showing, by the way.
No, it's the other one. December home prices rose 10.4%.
Ah,
that one. It's the one up.
Oh, that one. Okay, good.
Yeah. Now you're on the right one. All right.
Now I'm on the right one. So I skipped ahead. I thought you did this one, but you skipped.
I did. We were talking about the other one. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And by the way, it's already, so you did skip. All right. So this is mine. So December is usually the slowest month. I apologize, by the way. There's a lot happening in my house. December is usually the slowest month for the housing market, but price gains didn't slow down one bit in 2020. In fact, they rose at the fastest pace in 7 years. Home prices nationally increased 10.4% compared with December of 2019. According to, yes, Ray, you're right, S&P, CoreLogic, Case Shiller home price indices. That's multiple indexes when you have indices. That is the strongest annual growth rate in over 6 years and a significantly stronger gain than in November when prices were up 9.5%. It also ranks as one of the largest annual gains in the more than 30-year history of the index. And it breaks down. So the 10-city composite, which if you want to know what those 10 cities are, and then they have a 20-city composite, you can go over to CNBC. They do break it down. But the 10-city composite was an annual increase of 9.8%, up from 8.9. The 20-city was up almost 1% to 10.1 from 9.2. This is a quote from Craig Lazar. He's the managing director and global head of index investment over there at S&P. 2020's 10.4 gain marks the best performance of housing prices in a calendar year since 2013. It's kind of when the market figured itself out, right?
Right.
From the perspective of more than 30 years of S&P CoreLogic data, by the way, CoreLogic's kind of They're up to bat right now. So we don't really have any current stories, but they are currently up to bat to see what they do. Anyway, in more than 30 years of their data, December's year-over-year change ranks within the top decile of all reports. These data are consistent with the view that the Rona, we got to change it out. The Rona has encouraged potential buyers to move from urban apartments to suburban homes. This may indicate a secular shift in housing demand or may simply represent an acceleration of moves that would have taken place over the next several years anyway.
Which we have been talking about that move, which is kind of what I brought up before we got, or as we were getting to the last article. We have been talking about that, but one of the things we noted was, yes, they were moving from more densely populated areas, but they were still staying in the same zip code.
Yeah, they weren't moving too far out. And it was kind of like at first, remember when it was, oh, you can work from home now, so I'm going to move to Idaho and work in California.
Right.
But then it was, they reined it in a little bit, like, no, they're just moving away from the more densely populated areas to loosen it up a little bit, but still staying within, their area. And that was nationwide, not just the max exodus from California.
And so if we see rates start to increase and if we see home prices continue to go up, is that going to create a cooling of the buyer's market and then suddenly switch to a 3 to 4 to 5 month inventory? Like, how fast could that happen?
I don't know how quickly that happened, but I'm also watching, they're talking about the national wage increase to $15 an hour. Now, what would that do to people that make $20 an hour? Now, all of a sudden they're like, well, wait, I don't make much more than so now do those have to go up and then 25 and 50? So does that increase wages? Because if you look historically, home prices have gone up, incrementally more than what wage has gone up. So there's a big difference. Remember back in the 50s, you could, be a shoe salesman and buy a house and have a car and a TV and all that stuff.
Right.
It's a little different nowadays. So I'm curious to see watch that stuff.
It's also interesting how we report it, right? We say home prices increase, but you could also say home values are increasing. So every moment that you continue to rent and not buy something is a moment that you're not being able to take advantage of that home price increase over time. So even if you just put your money somewhere and you stay there for 5 to 10 years, you're probably going to come out all right on the back end. There's only been
100%.
2 recessions that home prices have dropped. One of those recessions, it only dropped 1.9%. The other recession, it dropped 19%, which I'll let you guess which one that was.
Right.
So all the other recessions, home prices increased anywhere from 2 to 6%. So even if we go from this booming real estate market straight into a recession, I anticipate that home price gains will continue until inventory has fully caught up. And we're looking at, quote, a balanced market, which is ranging somewhere between 4 and 6 months of supply, depending on where you're located.
Yeah, and it would have to. I don't even think it would go back to a leveling at this point. Like, I think for a while on the show, we were saying, if this happens, if that happens, then there'll be more of a leveling. It's going to take a lot for there to be a leveling at this point. So I think what you're saying is home price gains would slow, but they would still gain.
Yeah.
Even if,
home price gains slow, but they're still going to go up for the long haul. I think
they're still going to go up. And that's what, I have the clients right now. We just opened escrow on a purchase where they bought 5 years ago. They bought a condo because that's what they could afford. And they made bank on this condo because they made bank, and now they're able to leverage that into a single family home and putting 20% down. And then they'll have a little bit more money in the bank as well. So, but what if they were renting for the last 5 years? That would be,
they got nothing except escalating rent over time.
Right.
Now, do we get back? Let me get back to the comments here. Dusty Martin's got one. She says, my luxury market is the same right now. It's nuts. It's usually a buyer's market in the luxury market here. But right now, it's just as bad as the lower price points. Full on seller's market with only 1 month of supply under 3 million.
Crazy.
Wow. So that maybe that's going over. If you're in Clubhouse and you want to comment about your inventory or tell us where you are and join the podcast live, don't be nervous. You're only going to be exposed to thousands and thousands of people with your comment, but we'd still love for you to come up and share.
And no pressure, but
I think you're supposed to say in Clubhouse that we are recording this. So, but we'd love to have you join and tell us who you are, what market you serve, and what you're seeing in the market. So
and you are going to be live on the #1 informational podcast, news podcast in Taiwan, number 16. So
I bearded mint. Yeah. We are number 16 news show in Taiwan, but we are the #1 real estate podcast with 2 bearded guys. So that's pretty
Yeah,
stellar.
yeah, number one, and that's overall, by the way.
Yeah, but I would say number one with a bearded guy, but Bigger Pockets has a bearded guy, and they have a couple more listeners. So whatever. All
Yeah.
right, Dusty says, yeah, prices will go up, interest will go up. It might cool off, and by that I mean 1 to 2 offers instead of 37. But that's what all the major markets, in Arkansas, we were like, okay, I should do a reel about the difference in the market these days, because like 3 years ago, you contact an agent and say, hey, we're looking at these 5 or 6 homes. The agent's like, okay, well, I kind of have a little event tonight, so why don't we schedule them in a couple of days? And you schedule like 4 or 5 homes, maybe add a couple of more, and the agent will call you and say, hey, that's great that you scheduled these two days away. I wanted to let you know that we have one person coming to look at it just before you.
Exactly.
Right. Like, oh, isn't that cute? So, and now my clients are like, hey, Ray, we found one we really like. And I'm like, okay. And so I call the agent and say, hey, can I show that home in 5 minutes? That's a very drastically different situation, but that's what we have to do in order to get stuff accepted.
Dude, if I don't plan 2 days ahead, there will not be any showings. I have to start. So right now I'm planning weekend showings. And usually what we're seeing is it'll be listed Tuesday, Wednesday, and then go through the weekend. And a lot of the LA stuff, they show it for a full week and a half.
They do? Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They show up. They don't really care about days on market. They care about price. So they'll show it
in our area.
They'll do kind of virtual-ish open house where they have an assistant sit at the house, and then each party goes through 15, 20 minutes at a time. And then they show it throughout the week. And then they may even leave it. I have one that they're even leaving it a second weekend, and then offers are due next Monday or Tuesday. So
interesting.
It's giving everyone a fair shot. And I think it's smarter for the sellers, to why not, and people, if they love the house, they're not going to, well, my offer expired after 3 days. It's not that kind of market. You're going to let your offer expire. And if I have to write a new one, I'll write a new one, So,
all right, I want to get to a comment by Melissa Mars. She says, "Cute little waterfront went on last week. Only showed it Saturday and Sunday during the open house. Had 25 offers by Monday afternoon. The client offered, client offered 451 and lost. It was listed for 399. Yeah, that was her. All right, so Dusty said, you were still showing. We just submit an offer the minute it comes on the market. Here we're lucky to get a weekend or an open house. Yeah, that's kind of how it is here. That our agents are kind of so burned from people waiting. Like, I submitted an offer contingent upon the sale of another home last night, and I know that my client's home is going to sell in 2 minutes. And I was conveying that to the agent, and we put in a really good offer. The seller overpriced his home. And it's clear to see that he overpriced his home. So we put in a full price offer because that's like, he will be lucky to get that, and it'll be lucky to appraise. So we put in the offer, and we get a rejection back and say, well, he rejected it due to the contingency. I was like, oh, okay. Did you get a whole bunch of other offers? And he said, we haven't had any. I said, you get a whole bunch of showings. Like, we got 3. So
in this kind of market, only 3 showings.
This kind of market, so I'm like, okay. And I told him, I said, you realize that once we go under contract, we're going to lower our offer.
Yeah, you're going to come back with a lower offer.
He was like, yeah. So we'll see what happens, but they're totally going to put in a lower offer if that happens. Melissa Mars says they only last a weekend anyways. Why not see it if you can squeeze it in? And Matt says, y'all are waiting on them to hit the market. We're knocking on doors and begging. This is true. We're knocking on doors and begging to buy their home that they didn't know they wanted to sell. So that is exactly what we are doing as a company, spending some time door knocking in hot pockets where our buyers are looking in areas that we know that we have buyers for, because we have like 37 or 40,000 people in our database that have expressed some interest in selling or buying. And so we can look at, based on what they're clicking and searching for on our website, and know where we would have buyers for. And so if we go and door knock those homes and get one, then we can send it out to them and say, hey guys, we got one coming up. So
and think about, if your average home price, is 300 grand, you can literally knock on that door and go, hey, a year ago, your house was worth 300. Now it's worth 330, maybe 350 in this kind of market because there's no other inventory.
Yeah. Yeah, we're listing a house. We're listing 3 houses that were delayed because of the snow, and in each one of those houses, it will be the only home in the neighborhood on the market.
Same. I have a lot of those. A lot of my listings are the only one available, and it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So, yeah, and I mean, to go back, but I don't think it really behooves the seller. I don't think it's smart to just show up for a day, and I don't think, in my personal opinion, that best serves the the client, especially if it's occupied, you know. So what I do is I list it Wednesday and then Thursday, Friday it sits. Then they're gone for the whole weekend, and you can show it pretty much anytime, all weekend. And if honestly we feel like enough people didn't see it, if there's still enough requests, we'll go into a Monday, and then I'll say offers are due by 5 p.m. on Tuesday or whatever. That gives everyone a fair shot, everyone to see it. And then, you know, it also helps your seller because you're going to get more offers, you know, and we're averaging, geez, even on condo listings, 12 to 15 offers right now.
Wow. Yeah, condos for a long time were kind of tough to sell. And it's not
kind of tough to sell. HOA, you know, it's got to be the right buyer and all that stuff. But nope, same thing. We're still seeing 12 to 15 offers.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other comments, I guess we'll end the show. I'll hang out in the clubhouse for another 5 minutes or so, and then I'll be going to actually take some pictures. Or I'm not taking the pictures. I'm going to go with the photographer, and the photographer is going to take the pictures. But we really appreciate you guys watching the show, listening to the show. If you're live, you're going to be able to see his puppy again. Oh, look at Copper. Copper made 2 appearances this show.
His full name is Copper Penny.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, you know, my kid's name is Lincoln. That's kind of weird. So anyway, because Copper Penny. All right. So if you're watching us live and you're in Clubhouse, if you want to be notified of the next time we go live, just click my face, then click follow, then click the bell, and you'll be notified. I can also ping you in, but sometimes, you know, I try to ping a bunch of people, but I also don't want to annoy a bunch of people. So I love it if you guys would annoy them for me. Also, if you're watching this live on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell there. If you're watching us on Facebook, I'm just going to be honest with you. If you're watching us on Facebook, we're probably eventually moving off that platform. It is messing with analytics, and we don't really like everything they stand for or how they're.
Hence the reason, if you weren't watching the beginning of the show, why I say I miss Tom from MySpace. I miss that guy so much right now.
Broadcast on MySpace. So we're probably going to move it straight to YouTube in the future. And we think that would also help some analytics and stuff. We also have something called BMORE Chops, which is kind of a play on the word, you know, bearded men of real estate chops, you know, because of the facial hair. But it's quick clips of the show. We're going to take each one of these stories and clip them up and then release those through the week. So if you missed one of these stories, that's an easy way to find it. And lastly, you can find our podcast anywhere that good podcasts are listed. We're on basically everything. Droid, Apple, it doesn't matter. We're agnostic. We just want you to subscribe, and please rate. If you've already subscribed and you're listening to this thing, rate it. Give us a thumbs up wherever you're watching, but rate it and like do the star thing and tell us what you liked about the show, because that would really help our show get out. So we really, really appreciate you guys. We love the interactivity. We love hearing from you later. But honestly, whenever you text me later and you're like, Ray, I really like this part of the show and stuff, I'm like, ooh, next time comment live and like let us know you're listening. Because lurkers are okay, but part of the thing that makes our show different is being able to interact with the audience, because you guys are real estate experts, you guys are industry experts, you're lending experts, we have home inspectors, and for consumers to be able to hear from you is super important to us too. So
there's only one lurker that gets a pass, and that's my father, Norm. Norm gets a pass. That's it.
He's commented one time when the show is messing up.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Right there. D-lettered rocks. Boom.
DLUDWIGROCKS.
Yes. And go over to Instagram. Instagram's a fun little spot. I post lots of cool stuff there. Razorback, what do you got?
Yeah, I am Ray Zorback, RAYZORBACK. And you can find me wherever good Razorbacks are sold.
Hey,
Norm, he's listening. Dad, he says thanks for giving him a pass. Thanks, Norm.
He's the reason I am the way I am. Thank you, Norm.
He's the reason you exist.
He's the entire reason I exist.
Special note from Dan's dad. That's awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining the show, especially Norm. Really appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.